Welcome back, everybody. These are the best horror films of 1998. Let's check out what movies and films were scaring audiences worldwide. All right, we got the entire list. We're on to 1998. We're almost done with the 90s. So let's check out the horror films, all the best horror films that were released in 1998. Let's check them out. The Addams Family Reunion. The Addams Family goes on a search for their relatives. Dark comedy, family, fantasy, and horror. Addams Family Reunion. This was a made-for-TV movie in 1998. Alien Abduction. Incident in Lake County. After a mysterious blackout, a son goes out to investigate and captures footage of actual aliens. When the aliens follow him and his brothers back to their home, all hell breaks loose. TV movie. Angel of the Night. Rebecca inherits her grandmother's gothic mansion and celebrates by bringing her best friend and her boyfriend for a weekend. While exploring the crypts, they find an old dusty book which gives a detailed description of a vampire's life. Apt Pupil. A boy blackmails his neighbor after suspecting him to be a Nazi war criminal. Crime, drama, horror, and thriller. Apt Pupil. Bio-Zombie. A group of young shoppers and employees must band together when a zombie outbreak overruns their Hong Kong shopping center in the middle of the shopping day. Dark comedy, zombie, horror, and comedy. Bone Daddy. When a pathologist turned author publishes a novel about the true case of a serial killer still at large, he inadvertently inspires the murderer to kill again. Crime, horror, and thriller. Bone Daddy. Bride of Chucky. Chucky, the doll possessed by a serial killer, discovers the perfect mate to kill and revive into the body of another doll. Dark comedy, slasher, horror, supernatural horror. Bride of Chucky with Jennifer Tilly. Bugbuster. Killer cockroaches swarm a small lakeside community. Comedy, horror, and sci-fi. With Randy Quaid and Katherine Heigl. Bugbuster, comedy, horror, and sci-fi. Carnival of Souls. A young girl witnesses the brutal rape and murder of her mother by a circus clown and begins to have nightmares when the carnival comes back to town when she is an adult. Carnival of Souls. Drama, horror, and mystery. Children of the Corn 5. Fields of Terror. 6 college students on a road trip take a wrong turn and end up trapped in a strangely deserted rural town, inhabited by a murderous cult of children. Children of the Corn, Fields of Terror. Creature. An amphibious shark-like monster terrorizes an abandoned secret military base and the people who live on the island it is located on. A marine biologist as well as several other people try to stop it before it's too late. Curse of the Puppet Master. A scientist's attempt to master the art of transferring people's souls into puppets. Fantasy, horror, romance, slasher, and sci-fi. Decapitated. 7 friends are going camping at the infamous DeCamp Acres for a weekend, but they crash their car and have to walk, encountering a psychopath who tries to kill them one by one. Decapitated, comedy, and horror. Deep Rising. A group of heavily armed hijackers board a luxury ocean liner in the South Pacific Ocean to loot it, only to do battle with a series of large-sized, tentacled man-eating sea creatures who had already invaded the ship. Die Hard Dracula. A modern-day updating of the Dracula legend that finds Stephen, a good-looking American hero, devastated by the death of his girlfriend, wandering through Europe. Comedy and horror. Die Hard Dracula. Disembodied. Connie, a likable young woman with the sad problem of a spore-generating deformity on her face, which causes difficulties in her day-to-day life, such as dissolving into a gelatinous mass, who looks at it. Halloween Town. When a young girl living with her secret witch mother learns she is too a witch, she must help her witch grandmother save Halloween Town from evil forces. So this is the family of witches trying to save Halloween. Don't Look Down. A woman tries to get over the death of her sister by taking an acrophobia group. Then the group starts to get killed one by one. Don't Look Down. Dream House. Techno terror. A young couple move into a sophisticated home of the future where everything is automated by a supercomputer. However, the cutting-edge device soon turns murderous. Dream House. The Eternal. An alcoholic American couple travel to Ireland with their son so he can meet his grandmother, but they walk in their crazed uncle who is in the midst of reviving a centuries-old druid witch. The Eternal Horror. Beaters 2 Sleigh Bells. Aliens invade Earth over the Christmas holidays, and it's up to Santa Claus and his elves to save the world. Comedy, horror, and sci-fi. Beaters 2. Gargantua. Marine biologist Jack Elway and his son Brandon are drawn to the Polynesian island of Malau to study the effects of recent seismic activity on the area's marine life. Gargantua. Action, horror, and sci-fi. Genesis. A sculptor is traumatized by the death of his wife in a car accident. He builds a sculpture in her memory. As a lifelike sculpture begins to bleed through the cracks of the clay, the sculpture's flesh mutates and crumbles away. Godzilla. French nuclear tests irradiate an iguana into a giant monster that heads off to New York City. The American military must chase the monster across the city to stop it before it reproduces. Halloween H2O 20 years later. Laurie Strode, now the dean of a North Carolina private school with her assumed name, must battle the shape one last time, as the life of her own son hangs in the balance. Jamie Lee Curtis and Josh Hartnett. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. The murderous fisherman with a hook is back to once again stalk the two surviving teens, Julie and Ray, who had left him for dead, as well as cause even more murder. If I Die Before I Wake. A suburban family is held hostage and terrorized by 3 intruders while their 16-year-old daughter first hides, then exacts her own brand of terror on the assailants. I Married a Monster. Kelly's new husband, Nick, begins behaving oddly, showing a surprising desire to make babies and shun his drinking buddies. I Married a Monster. Horror and sci-fi. I've Been Waiting for You. A girl moves to a small town with her mom, only to be compared to a legendary witch with the same name. I've Been Waiting for You. I, Zombie, The Chronicles of Pain. A young man gets infected and gradually starts turning into a zombie. Fangoria, I, Zombie. We love it. We love it. The Last Broadcast. A film crew ventures into the forest in search of the mythical Jersey Devil. Found footage horror, and mystery. The Last Broadcast. So this is a found footage film, so it's kind of creepy and unsettling. Legion. In the year 2036, a special forces team led by Major Agatha, formed from death row prisoners, takes on a mission. Action, horror, and sci-fi. Legion. Legion of Fire. Killer ants. Killer ants from South America that eat the flesh of people attack a small town. Eric Lutz, Julia Campbell, Mitch Pileggi, and Jeremy Foley. Modern Vampires. A borderline fascistic Dr. Van Helsing unwittingly hires crack-smoking gangbangers to pursue the decadent vampires who secretly control Hollywood and the United States. Modern Vampires. Cyben Mundi. Thomas Cromer follows the traces of a brutal murder in Werewolf Manor out of personal interests. Cyben Mond. Horror and mystery. Pep Squad. Cherry wants to be a prom queen. Trouble is she's not nominated. Double trouble is she's not like the other girls. She'll stop at nothing, even murder and mayhem to get what she wants. Pep Squad. Phantasm 4, Oblivion. Mike travels through time and dimensions to find the tall man's origin. Dark comedy, fantasy, horror, and sci-fi. Phantoms. In the peaceful town of Snowfield, Colorado, something evil has wiped out the community. Now it's up to a group of people to stop it, or at least get out of the snowfield alive. Horror, sci-fi, and thriller. In the Winter Dark. An intense psychological drama around 4 people in a remote country village where a creature is killing the local animals. Drama, horror, and mystery. In the Winter Dark. Sometimes they come back for more. On an Arctic Circle radio shack, an ancient evil lurks, ready to strike at a psychologist, an army man, and their collective forces. Terra Firma. A homicidal maniac is on the loose in the city, and the low-budget film crew of Troma movie has the power to stop them. Terra Firma. Progeny. An unsuspecting woman is impregnated by aliens who are experimenting on the human population. Horror, sci-fi, and thriller. The Prophecy 2. When the powers of good and evil again descend to Earth in a battle over mankind, the only hope for survival is the unborn child of an innocent woman. With the help of a mysterious stranger, she races to protect her child and save mankind. Psycho. In Gus Van Smart's remake of Alfred Hitchcock's original classic, young female bank employee Marion Crane steals money from her boss in Phoenix, flees town, and arrives at Fairville, California. Razor Blade Smile. Lilith is a contract killer with an unusual past. 150 years ago, she had been mortally wounded in a duel. But Vampire was saved from death by being transformed into a vampire. Nowadays, she kills on the behalf of Platinum, her boss, and her brother. So she's a full-time vampire. Ringu. When her niece is found dead along with 3 friends after reviewing supposedly cursed videotapes, she's back. Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island. The Mystery Gang reunite and visit Moonscar Island, a remote island with a dark secret. Farce, hand-drawn animation, slapstick horror. Shadow Builder. A demon is summoned to take the soul of a young boy who has the potential to become a saint. By doing this, he will open a doorway to hell and destroy the world. Shrieker. It strikes without warning. It can morph through walls, ceilings, floors. Behind every corner lies a potential doorway to death. Horror. After 50 years, the Shrieker has been summoned again. 5 will die tonight. The 6th will become its master. Species 2. An astronaut gets infected with the alien DNA during the first mission on Mars and runs amok on Earth. Preston's and Laura's team up with a peacefully genetically re-engineered seal to track the monster down. Strange Land. A detective pursues a sadistic specializing in body modification rituals who lures teenagers through the internet. Strangers. Subspecies 4, Bloodstream. A woman and her friends face a wave of vengeance and war with the undead as the most evil vampire master awards linking to forcefully take action back. Sucker. Anthony is a vampire who uses his popular rock band as a front to lure beautiful young groupies to his lair. Comedy horror. Sucker. Tainted. A sarcastic comedy thriller about a vampire who sets out to infect the blood of a hospital and the 27 slackers who set out to stop him. Tainted. Tale of the Mummy. Centuries ago, under the sands of Egypt, in ancient Egypt, a prince was buried and his tomb entirely cursed, so that no man would ever suffer again from his evil ways. Tales of the Mummy. Tales from the Cannibal Side. 3 stories of cannibal lust and extreme desires. Tales from the Cannibal Side. Talisman. As the millennium draws near, an evil being awakens. Talisman. Horror. The Landlady. Melanie decides that one of her tenants would be perfect as her husband, and decides to eliminate everyone who might interfere in her plans. Slasher horror. Landlady. The Dentist 2. Dr. Kane, the murdering dentist from the original movie, has escaped from the mental institution where he has since been caught. The Dentist. Dark comedy. The Faculty. I love The Faculty. When Casey Connor, Harrington's high school's newspaper photographer, witnesses the murder of a nurse and sees her alive again, he decides to investigate the bizarre happenings. The Faculty. The Minion. A 1,500-year-old body of one of the Knights Templar is discovered below New York subway. Dark fantasy, action, fantasy, horror. The Phantom of the Opera. Gory remake of the Gaston Leroux classic story. Only this time, the Phantom is not disfigured, but a man who was raised by rats deep under the Paris Opera House. Immortality. The Wisdom of the Crocodiles. Immortality. Hazardous, seditious, and bodily. Crime, mystery, and romance. The Catcher. After 17 years in a mental institution, Johnny returns to the baseball field where he beat his father to death. Slasher horror, and sport. The Demon's Baby. When an ancient treasure is violated by a military general, each of his concubines becomes pregnant with a demonic baby. A rogue priest and a chef must try and kill the demons before they can infest the entire world. The Demons in My Head. Travis Brown is having the worst week of his life. After losing his stereo, his job, and the woman of his dreams, he discovers he's a meteorite. Demons in My Head. The Glasshead is a scorcher of a movie. It's scary. Check it out. The Mutilation Man. Ivan is a young man who travels a barren wasteland performing shows of self-mutilation to small but adoring crowds. Fantasy, horror, and thriller. The Mutilation Man. The Tale of Sweeney Todd. When a merchant goes missing, a young American investigates the disappearance and discovers the truth about Sweeney Todd, a skilled barber, and his business partner, Mrs. Lovett, a butcher. They All Must Die. 3 black street thugs sexually assault and torture a white woman who moves into their neighborhood. Horror. Now Unleashed, Uncut. Twilight Dinner. A pale-looking man is being questioned by the police following the extreme bloody murder of a young woman. Drama and horror. Twilight Dinner. Urban legend. I love urban legend. A college student suspects a series of bizarre deaths are connected to certain urban legends. Slasher horror, teen horror, and horror. Urban ghost story. After a car accident, Lizzie lies dead on the roadside. Slowly, she is taken into the light, but is pulled back to earth when she is revived by the doctors. Drama, horror, and thriller. Urban ghost. Vampires. Recovering from an ambush that killed his entire team, A vengeful vampire slayer. This should be acquired by vampires will allow them to walk in the sunlight. Vampires, very good movie. Whispering corridors. In a Korean school, students are regularly beaten and mistreated by their teachers. Drama, horror, mystery, and thriller. Witchcraft 10. In England, bisexual British vampires free Californian Satanist hide from police custody. LAPD detective and Interpol's bureau try to catch them. Zombie Resurrection. Know what this is about? The resurrection of zombies. So check out Zombie Resurrection. You'll love it. It's a scorcher. Zombie Toxin. Set in England, a man and a servant unwittingly release a zombie-producing toxin into the countryside. Zombie horror, comedy, and horror. Zombie Toxin. This is a British film. Those were all the best horror films of 1998. So now we have coming up is 1999. What were your best horror films that you remember from 1998? I still know what you did last summer. I love that. Let me know in the comments below some of your favorite films you remember of that year. All right, stay tuned for the best horror films of 1999, I believe. Yes, we're gonna wrap up the decade of the 90s with the best horror films of 1999. I'm Tony. Thanks for watching, all these subscribers. Thank you, and I'll see you all in the next video.